Yeah, hi Shiladitya.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible. It will be better.
Okay.
Let's. Yeah, you're not visible, Shiladitya.
Am I visible and audible now?
Yes, yes, yeah. Hi. Thank you very much for joining this session, and it feels great to have you here. So we will
No
be
problem.
starting in next 5 minutes. So we will be waiting for 5 minutes, and then we will start.
Sure.
Okay. So let's start, Shiladitya and Shashwat. So good evening, everyone, and welcome. So we are excited to have you here for today's session. Today we have Shiladitya from EY. He has been working for last 11 years. So today's session is gonna be around resume, and our host is Shashwat. So over to you, Shashwat.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for so much for joining us today, and a special thank you to our speaker, Siladitya Gupta, sir, for taking the time to be with us and share his insights. So, at Beyond Careers, we focus on one simple idea, that is bridging the gap between what students learn and what top firms actually require and expect from them. So, no fluff, just practical knowledge and recruitment ready insights. We are incredibly excited to have with us someone who has, like truly seen the consulting world from the inside. Siladitya is currently a director at Ernst Young, that is EY, working in risk consulting, where he combines legal expertise with strategic consulting to solve complex business problems. He has worked across geographies, delivering cross-border advisories, strategy, risk mitigation programs, etc., etc. Just helping organizations navigate through real-world challenges. So what standouts is his approach, driven by innovation, continuous learning, and creating tangible impact in business sphere. So this was our introduction of Siladitya sir. And before we start, I would like to give you a quick brief of the session. What we'll be, diving into. First, we will be covering what top consulting firms actually look for. Second, where most resumes silently fail, and how to position yourself as a consultant. With that, I won't take more time. I would like to have invite Sir to actually introduce himself and tell him more about his journey, how he came into this sphere, how is he actually progressing into it. Over to you, Siladitya sir.
Thanks, Shashwat and Mahavir. And I'm glad that, in such short notice, so many people could join, and it's quite late uh, the evening. So I'm just happy to see so many participants and the enthusiasm, right, from all of you. Hope I'm audible to everybody, right? Just to check. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, I think I don't want to reintroduce myself. It's already being done by Mahavir and Shashwat, right? So just a quick, background from just to set the context, right? So a qualification, I'm a lawyer, so I might not be able to answer, what you study from day-to-day basis as part of your curriculum. So, but I can help you in understanding how the corporate structure works and how consulting firms operate, and to be more precise and specific, how we are going to be, talking about the CV and what should the structure, how much to disclose, what all not to disclose, so on and so forth, and the three objectives of the session that Shashwat mentioned as well, right? Now, I have a brief presentation I'll take you guys through with respect to the slides that I have for all of you, so that you can visualize and we have more context to what we are discussing. We can discuss, and I want to have a I don't want it to be a one-way talk track, right? So in case wherever you guys have any question, query, feel free to raise your hand and let me know wherever I can clarify further, right? Although we do have a dedicated 15-minute slot at the end of the session for a Q&A sort of a discussion, right? So let me know once my screen is visible. I'll just take you guys through the presentation, and so that we are able to visualize what we are going to be discussing, right? So let me know once my screen is visible to all of you.
Yeah, are you able to share, Shiladitya?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, great. It's visible.
Okay, cool. Okay, so now you must be seeing a lot of content on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, right? So to say, for all the you know freshers or all the job postings that you see, right, on LinkedIn or various other platforms, right? Now there are some typical, standard or generic sort of comments that you'll come across, and I know many people even offer services to write your CVs as well, right? And that's the latest trend that I see many a times whenever I scroll through LinkedIn, right? So that takes away the whole personalization factor from your profile, right? Somebody else is writing on your behalf. I mean, that's the basic mistake many people make when they outsource this particular aspect, right? So your CV should not talk about what all you have done in your career, right? Be it your academic career or your professional journey, whatever it might be. It should be very focused on the role that you're applying for, right? It should not have anything and everything which is generic, not creating the story that you want to tell, or not creating the perception that you want the person who is interviewing to have, right? uh, usual tendencies to mention literally anything and everything, be it my academic achievements, my internships, the committees or the societies that I'm a part of, my passion beyond, academics or work. Everything we try to club and try to portray a picture, or I mean, I'll not sugarcoat some of these things, so that you're able to relate and all of us are able to connect, right? We often try to oversell our story, right? Or we often try to glorify things, and those are the basic mistakes that we make, right? Nobody is looking for a perfectionist. Okay, so and your CV is not going to give you the job that you're applying for. It's just to get you the interview, right? So we need to be very conscious and careful to whatever we mention as part of our CV and whatever we want to convey through it, right? And the first thing that I want you guys to have in mind is that nobody is looking to hire a perfect candidate, right? Nobody is looking for a perfectionist. You can very well have your flaws, gaps, not fancy looking internships or courses or brand names. These are not mandatory for you to get to that position that you aim for, right? Now, as part of this presentation, what we're going to be, I have bifurcated into four different themes, right? First, we are going to be talking about the messages the firms are firms like the big fours of the world or the BCGs of the world or the McKinseys of the world are trying to give to candidates, right? And what exactly it means, right? Because you see a term like candidate who has graduated from a top tier institute, what exactly it means, right? Nobody is looking for specifically people who has graduated from a particular college or university unless the job description says so, right? Where or what are the lacunas that we have in our CVs? Typically what I see in all the CVs that I get, right? And just to clarify, I uh, lead a practice which is only dealing with corporate law, right? So I deal with corporate transactions, policies, governance, so on and so forth, and advisory and all, right? So the CVs that I typically receive is, from law graduates or people who have done masters in law, right? Uh, Although I also receive CVs from people who are doing MBAs or engineering, so on and so forth, or other degrees. And that is one of the mistakes that we are going to be talking about, right? It has no relevance to what I do. We have a tendency or an approach where we simply think that, okay, this person works in this organization. I think let me just send my CV to this individual. Nobody takes 5 minutes of time or the pain to check what that individual is doing, whether that individual's role is aligning with your profile or not, right? So that is something that we are going to be discussing. Uh, how you can position your CV as a consultant, and here when I say consultant, I'm talking about institutions or organizations which are the most sought after organizations, right? There are different tiers of consulting firms that we have in the country, right? So starting from the premier to tier 2, tier 3, all sorts of consulting firms, whatever we are going to be discussing is going to apply more or less to all of these tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 consulting firms, right? And then we are also going to look into some of the issues and concerns that I personally have seen, right? Where what it should have been and what exactly the CV says, right? So it's kind of a before after with respect to some of the real profiles, that some of the points that we're going to be talking about. And then, of course, the Q&A section, right? Hope we are all aligned. Any question, query, if there is anything, please. I'm not able to see the audience, or I'm not sure whether I'll be able to see if someone raises their hand, right? So just give me a prompt. I'll take a pause and respond to your queries and questions. Okay. Now, typically you see whatever is written towards the left hand side of your screen, right? What the job description is going to typically say, whether it's about the institution, the virtue signaling that is happening, right? The experience that they're referring to, right? Typically these are the terms that you're going to be seeing, right? Strong academics, top institute, as I was just mentioning. Leadership experience, right? Good communication skills, team player, relevant internship work experience, right? Now these are some generic terms that any and every job description you pick up from LinkedIn or whatever website you want to, you're going to see these terminologies or these phrases, right, in any and every job description. Be it your consulting, non-consulting, industry, even if I have to look at some of the CV job descriptions that are being posted for professors, right, where some university wants to hire somebody, I see these terms there as well. Okay. Now, usually the response that the students, right, especially the freshers, the lot of freshers, right, they tend to write these same phrases in their as part of their CVs, right? So they will simply write that I have graduated from a top institute, right, and then name the institute. They'll claim that I have enormous leadership experience, right? They'll say that great communication skills, I know 5 languages, right? Then somebody will say that I'm a team player. And then, of course, people will try to demonstrate that they have relevant internship or work experience, or they have published some paper relevant to a particular topic or to the industry to which they're applying for, right? Now, that's not what we as recruiters to these consulting firms are looking for, right? So usually how the recruitment at a consulting firm happens, I'll just break down that recruitment process, right? It's not that HR is going to be the deciding factor. So how it happens is, if I have to recruit somebody in my team, what I would be doing is I will prepare the job description. I will give it to my HR team. I'll tell the HR that I need profiles with these relevant experience brackets that I'm have mentioned in the JD. These are the skill sets that I'm looking for, and if this individual is working with XYZ, so on, so on. I mean, if it's a lateral hiring, right, not a fresher hiring, in that case, I'll also talk about some of the firms. I'll also name some of the compete firms from which I would ideally want to hire this candidate. So HR is going to go to, say, a LinkedIn or a Naukri.com. So we have a different version of, not the version of LinkedIn that you guys or I use. These consulting firms and the HR teams will always have a specific recruiter profile, right? So some of you might be already knowing about it. So LinkedIn offers this recruitment profiles, right, for specifically designed for recruiters. And similarly in Naukri and any other job search engine, these specific accesses are provided to the HR teams of various organizations. Right? My HR is going to go on these platforms or these search engines, and they will share 50 or 60 profiles, right? Depending on the number of people that I would want to hire, right? 50, 60, I'm mentioning in case I'm doing a bulk hiring, right? 5, 10 people at one go. Then those CVs are going to come to me, where my team is going to scrutiny. I mean, they will do the initial scrutiny of the CVs, right? So they will scroll through all the profiles that we receive. And out of those, 40, 50 profiles, whatever we have received, typically the number, uh, 8 to 10% CVs will come to me eventually, where the interviews will get scheduled, right? and then the subsequent processes are going to start. So that's the overall life cycle or journey, right? Now what you need to understand is, when HR is looking for these profiles, now HR is not a technical person, okay? uh, HR will look for some very specific search or keywords, right? Like how we have hashtags and all for Instagram. Similarly, HR is going to do some searches with basis some keywords, right? Which needs to be there in your CV. If it is missing, your profile is not going to pop up in the top 10, top 20 search hits, right? That we're getting. Now, if you simply write that, strong academics, I have extremely, strong academics, and I'm a part of top 1% of my class. Okay, I mean, good for you. But great marks or great rank is not equal to a great consultant, right? I mean, your uh, academic credential is only going to substantiate some of the claims that you're going to make. That is not everything that is going to make your case, right? What we would want to understand is how you're handling pressure, right? And not once or twice, what has been the trajectory, whether you're able to handle pressure consistently, right? Now here you cannot simply go and claim that I handle pressure in a very professional manner, right? That's a statement that you're making. You have to substantiate and quantify everything that you're claiming, right? Whether you belong to a top institute or not, that is absolutely dependent on the rating that your institute is getting, right? So if it's an IIT or an IIM or an LSR, right? By default, the recruiter knows that it's a top institute of the country, right? So you don't have to reiterate that. You simply mention how you were able to get through to the top 1% of your batch, right? So that should be somewhere coming out in your profile where you're quantifying, right? You're not making a statement, you're quantifying that, out of 500 people in my batch, I've been able to secure a rank within the top 1%, or 99 percentile, or whatever it might be, right? That quantifies, that establishes the fact that, okay, you're able to handle pressure. It's not a one-time achievement. If you are a part of the top 1 percentile of your class for a period of 3 years or 4 years, that is that is my cue to understand that you're a consistent performer who is able to demonstrate that, is able to handle pressure on an ongoing basis, right? Not a one-time wonder sort of, right? Then comes your this term leadership experience, right? Now here, many people I see that they simply mention that, I'm the chairperson of debating society of my institute, right? Or secretary of my cultural committee, right? Now, that is not helping me to understand what exactly you have achieved. Is it just a participation from your end, or you actually added some value, right? If you have added some value, then quantify that, right? You mentioned that I established a team of, or I set up a team of 5 members to oversee a particular process or an event in my college, right? Which was a first time initiative. Or I have been able to negotiate with a vendor and reduce the cost by 15% of an event that I had organized as part of my cultural, as part of the role that I played as a cultural secretary of my college committee, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is that you cannot simply go and claim certain things or write certain sentences, right? You substantiate that what exactly you did as part of that, leadership role that you were playing over the last 2 years, 1 year, or 5 years, right? Good communication skills. Now, usually here people often misunderstand this with the number of languages they know, right? Often they say think that okay, I know French, or I know, Spanish, so I have great communication skills, right? So usually by communication skill, the recruiters are trying to understand whether you are able to understand the question or not, and how quickly you can respond to a particular query that is going to come to you, right? So they will do a detailed analysis during the interview, but as part of your CV, at least you can mention that when you're claiming that you have great communication skills, you can simply substantiate that by mentioning that, uh, I was a part of one particular research engagement, and with one particular instruction, I was able to provide the outcome the firm was looking for, or the respective team was looking for, right? So you again substantiate the fact that you don't need to be told something thrice, or twice for that matter, right? You simply get the point at one go. Again, substantiate that. And all these points that I'm mentioning, it is not mandatory that you have to have all of these points as part of your CV, right? It's absolutely fine if you don't have any of these, five points that are mentioned here, right? As I mentioned at the onset of the session, that we are not looking to hire a perfect candidate. We are looking to hire somebody who gets the problem, right? And who has enough passion to learn how to solve a problem. So as part of and that's the basic, what should I say? The most, it's consulting 101, when the life of a consultant is to give solutions, right? So we are trying to see whether you have that aptitude to solve a problem, right? We are not trying to judge how technically sound you are as a fresher. Of course, if it's a lateral hiring, definitely I will be grilling you on your technicals, right? But if you're a fresher, I will simply start checking your basics, whether your concepts are fine or not, whether you're conceptually sound or not. And second, your conviction, right? Uh, Third, whether you're passionate enough to dig deeper into resolving a problem, right? Then comes team player. Again, everybody, literally all the CVs that I see, everyone writes, I'm a team player. What does that even mean? I mean, how is that differentiating you with another person? Everyone is writing that same line, right? You substantiate how you are arriving at the conclusion or deducing that you are a team player, right? Why do you think that you're a team player? It could be anything, right? I mean, if you play a particular sport, you can simply mention that, I uh, have taken inspiration from my sporting psychology uh, to be able to contribute as a team player, and I get that at, at an individual level, whatever achievements can be made, a far greater or deeper achievement can be achieved through teamwork, right? Now here, again, you specifically talk about certain situations. It could be I mean, from a law school's point of view, we have this thing called moot court, right? Where uh, a team of five or three people would go to a particular competition, and they would, argue in front of a, it's like model UN, right? So we have this thing called moot court. Now, whenever I scroll through any CV, and if somebody's claiming that person is a team player, I try to look for whether this individual has joined, or whether it's participated in any moot court or not, right? If I don't see that, then it's a vague claim for me. I'm sure for you guys as well, there would be something, some group projects or some collaborative, action sections that you guys also have as part of your curriculum. I may not know what exactly it is, but like I mentioned, in law schools, we have this moot court concept, right? And if somebody is claiming to be a team player, I would want to understand what the person contributed as one of the members of a moot court team, right? And then last but not the least, the relevant internship work experience bit. So usually what happens is, so typically a student would have, if it's a 4-year course, minimum, 5 to 8 internships that individual would be doing. If it's a 5-year course, like what I did when I was doing my law, usually I see that 15 on an average, the number of internships that law students do. Now, the basic trend is you mention all the internships as part of your CV, right? And all of those internships may not align with the role that you're applying for, right? So it is not necessary that whatever you have done in your life, right, everything has to appear in your CV. Simply mention those internships that are relevant for the profile that you're applying for. Just to give some context, right? Again, I'll keep on giving context from a lawyer's and law student's perspective because that is the only way I can relate. I hope that you guys are going to get what I'm trying to say. If you're not able to relate, please let me know. I'll try to think of something else. So in law, we have different sects of M&A, family law, commercial law, disputes, so on and so forth. Now, I'm into corporate law, right? Now, when I receive a CV where I see somebody who has done internships in family law, that has no relevance for me. I mean, I don't want to know only, right? You're simply wasting your time by giving me that information that you have done some internship with respect to family law. I have no interest in it because that is not what I do. And that is not what this job or this role requires, right? So I'll simply discard that piece of information that you're providing. And when I'm saying I'm going to discard, this is something I'm talking about at a screening stage, right? Screening of your profile, right? So that profile is not going to come to me only for interview, right? So my team will simply, whenever they see, somebody who is applying has done internships in family law, that's an obvious no-go for us. I'm like, okay, I mean, good, but we have no use of this experience, right? So you don't need to put anything and everything that you have done, right? You curate it. So it requires a lot of effort. Usually uh, I mean, tendency is that I'll have one CV and I'll circulate the CV everywhere, right? Whatever job opening I see, I'll send that same CV. It'll take a little more effort from your end, but do customize your CV whenever you're applying for different positions or to different organizations, right? If you're applying to if you're applying to say 3-4 consulting firms, your CV can be same, right? But if you have say applied for a consulting firm, and at the same point in time, if you have applied to an industry as well, I mean, as an in-house stakeholder of any organization, say like Infosys or Samsung or Airtel or so on and so forth, both the CVs cannot be same, right? Because the approach in consulting and in-house roles are completely different. So there's no similarity, right? But we don't take the pain of customizing our CV basis the job description that is published, right? So again, just to reiterate, you don't need to put anything and everything. So whenever you see that relevant internship work experience section of your CV, just do a review, ensure that it is aligned well with your job description or with the role that you're applying for, right? Now, 3 things that actually get you through the door, right? And here again, when I say get you through the door, I'm not talking about getting the job. Your CV's role is not to get you the job. Your CV's role is just to get you the interview, right? and then it is up to you how you crack that interview, right? Now here, what I was mentioning in my earlier slide, right? You signal density rather than, you know, quantity, right? Hmm. Here's just an example: one IIT, one tier one internship, and one real outcome. That's it. You don't have to mention five different things that you have done, right? This is sufficient enough to establish your credibility. So, CV is nothing but a way to build your credibility, right? And this is going to give you a strong outcome rather than clubbing anything and everything, right? Whatever you have done. Mm, I did an internship with a marketing agency. I did an internship with an advertising agency. I did an internship with a steel manufacturer. I did an internship with a copyright agency, right? Now, none of these five that I'm giving is aligned to the role that I'm applying for. There could be one or two that is aligned. You simply remove the other three elements. There's no harm in keeping things. Uh, I mean, rather than quantity, we would prefer quality, right? Feel free to have white spaces in your CV. I see such cluttered CVs these days, and there are fancy formats and everything, right? Everybody's trying to fit in everything in one page, and there is no white space. So, the less amount of white space demonstrates that you need to showcase multiple things to establish your credibility. A lot of white space in any presentation or in any profile demonstrates confidence, right? So that is this is a factual statement that I'm making, and it is standard and applicable to all sorts of situations, right? Don't be afraid to have white spaces, right? You don't need a lot of cluttered information into one page. Okay. The narrative that you're trying to build, right, through your CV. As I was mentioning that, your CV is going to give you the credibility that you're trying to establish, right? So, and that credibility will come through a narrative that you're trying to build, right? Again, it's a story that you're telling about yourself, right? It's not about your autobiography. What you did right after birth till date, I'm not interested in knowing. I don't know. I want to know your blood group. I want to know how interested you are in music. I want to know how amazing a traveler you are, right? Unless it is aligned with what I'm looking for, right? If I'm I'm from a hospitality industry, definitely some of these things I would want to see in your CV, right? But if I'm looking to recruit a consultant to advise to the steel and manufacturing sector, I'm not really bothered about your music and the kind of places you want to you like to visit, right? The narrative that you're trying to build should align with the organization to whom you're applying for. For example, in EY, uh, and every big firm will have uh, an object, right? I'll give a couple of examples. In EY, our main motto or the object of a firm is to build a better working world, right? And how we do that, and the subset of that motto is, we also shape the future with confidence. So these are the two taglines that EY has. You go to EY's website, these are the two things that you'll see everywhere: building a better working world, uh, shape the future with confidence, right? Or shaping the future with confidence. These are the three sentences you're going to see everywhere. Tata Steel, their tagline is, "We also make tomorrow," right? The earlier tagline Tata Steel had was, "We also make steel," and then they changed the tagline a couple of years back, and now the tagline is, "We also make tomorrow." right? So that's the narrative Tata Steel is trying to convey to the audience, that we are a steel manufacturing company. Everybody knows that, right? But we also make tomorrow. It means that making steel or manufacturing steel is not the only thing that I do. I do lot many other things to build the nation, right? So if you go and check, you will find things about Tata Steel you did not even know that they do, right? So which is why that is the tagline that they are that they have right now. Okay. Similarly, for EY, our purpose is to build a better working world. Here, I'm helping organizations like Tata Steel to function better, right? I'm helping them to strategize some of their business operations, or some of the ideas that they have thought of, how to get that implemented, right? That is how I'm building a better working world, right? So your CV also needs to have some kind of a narrative, and how that narrative is aligning with the firm or with the organization that you're applying to, right? So that coherence need, I mean, it has to appear somewhere in your CV. It could be in your introduction. Usually people write that, and we will discuss that as well. Everybody would like write something like, I'm looking for a challenging role, looking to join some place which challenges me, so that I can grow further. I mean, generic storytelling stuff, right? Which has no meaning, right? We saw it somewhere, we liked it, we copy pasted it to a CV. So those type of stuff, the moment somebody sees your CV during the screening, the moment I read that first, I mean, when I used to screen CVs, the moment I used to read something like, I'm looking for a challenging environment, I was like, okay, this is something that I'm not interested in, right? Because that's generic stuff. Third is problem solving proof. As I mentioned, that your role or the designation that you held, it has no meaning, right? You can call yourself the president of whatever, okay? But what exactly you did? Did you solve a problem when you were holding that position? If yes, what was the approach? Mention that, right? That showcases that, okay, you saw or you identified a problem and you solved it. Okay. So that's the third thing that needs to come out in your CV. Okay. So these are the three basic things that needs to be there in your CV without any negotiation, right? By default, these three things you have to have in your CV. Okay. Not the density, a structured, virtue signaling that you're making, right? With the strongest internship, the strongest, outcome that you think uh, you were able to achieve through that project or that internship, and removing rest of the noise, right? The narrative and the evidencing of a problem solving situation. I mean, a, a proof where you solved something for the college or for the organization where you were interning, so on and so forth. Right? Now, this is one of the topics that we wanted to discuss, right? Where resumes die silently, and these are some of the six things that I have noted uh, almost in every CV that got rejected, right? Now, responsibility listing, right? And these are some of the points that we have been discussing, right, since the beginning. Manage social media. I mean, it's not giving me any insight to what you did, right? But when you say that you manage the social media page of your organization or the college or a particular cultural event that your college is organizing over the last 3-4 years, you have been able to increase the reach thrice in last 90 days, right? By rejigging the content or by redesigning some of the elements in which you were I mean, the way you were conveying messages to your audience earlier, you thought of a different way to convey. Probably the design you updated, or instead of normal posts, you started creating short 10-second videos to deliver your message in a better way, right? Something which tells me that, okay, this is what you did when you were the chairman or the head of a committee, or head of the recruitment cell of your organization. How did you manage to get the premium institutes or organizations to interview in your college, right? Or what was your method of approaching some of the top firms to offer internships to your students, right? I mean, you can mention all these things to demonstrate not only the designation that you held, but how you actually contributed, right? Then again, phantom leadership, right? I've been talking about it since the first slide itself, right? Where you were a secretary of some club, right? What was the new initiative that you have taken as the secretary of that club, right? Mention that, you know, these are the three events that you started or you initiated. Okay? And because of those three initiatives, these are the 3 or 4 results, or how it benefited or helped the students, right? Then it establishes, okay, you're a true leader. You created something and people got the benefit of it, right? So that is a leadership skill, right? Secretary of a club is not a leadership skill, right? So that tells me nothing. Again, I okay, good for you. You're a secretary of some club, but how does it help me, right? Misaligned narrative. I'll not talk a lot about it because I think we have already spoken about this aspect, right? Finance internship, marketing fest, coding hackathon, and then you're applying for a consulting job. Right? I don't know what you're trying to tell me with this kind of a setup, right? You're mentioning anything and everything that you have done, right? So again, curate, don't mix up things, right? Not everything is relevant for every application. Okay, so have a heart to not mention certain things. You might feel that, okay, this is a great achievement that I have, but if I remove it, you might feel that, okay, I don't want to remove it. It might take away some credibility. Don't worry on that. Have the heart to remove something as well. Okay, because that something might not be relevant for what you're applying for, right? Generic objective line, as I was just mentioning 5 minutes back, seeking a challenging role in a dynamic environment. Okay, so I mean, what kind of objective is this, right? So again, it's an indicator that you did not put any effort. So all, as an interviewer or as a recruiter, I am trying to look at is how much effort you're putting in. The moment as I mentioned, right, when I used to screen CVs, the moment I saw something like this, it was a no-brainer for me. I'm like, okay, that's it. I think dump this CV. There's no make sense in going ahead with it, because this person did not put that effort or did not respect the opportunity enough to put effort, right? So it's all about the perception of the individual that is sitting on the other side of the table. You might think, okay, I have every basic thing, every salient feature is there in my CV, right? Why am I not getting shortlisted? Because things like these exist in your CV, right? Which is telling the recruiter that I'm not, putting that much of effort to showcase the interest, right, for the job role that you're applying for, right? So it's a big turn off, right? Then again, formatting. Uh, I'll not get into the basic formatting mistakes that people make, where points are not aligned, paragraphs are not, separated, or there's no consistency in the, paragraph or the paraphrasing that you're doing. There's no consistency. The bullet points that are being used on in one particular paragraph, you have used an asterisk. The second one, you have used a dot. In the third one, you have used something else, right? Considering people from IITs and IIMs and LSR are present, so I'm expecting that this is something that I don't need to talk a lot to all of you. This is a basic expectation that I would have or anybody would have from you, that the formatting is absolutely on point, right? But another point that I want to reiterate: don't make it dense, right? Have white spaces. I'm time and again mentioning having white spaces is not going to put you in a disadvantageous position. Okay, it will show that you have enough faith in the content that you have kept in the scene, right? So just feel free to remove the noise, the clutter. Okay, and then the last point with respect to some of the consistent issues that we have noted. Often people write that they have worked in some project and they have contributed to, right? They say that I have contributed to this project in such and such manner, right? If you're not able to quantify it, right, then you're not substantiating the case for you, right? You have to quantify it. I mean, you have to describe what exactly you did as part of that project, right? I'll show us a couple of examples and how to do that and all in one of the subsequent slides. We can, I mean, if there's any question on this particular point, we can discuss as well towards the later half of the session. So now again, as I was mentioning that, any and every CV that you are curating, right? Whether you are curating or customizing it basis the job role that you're applying for is a key factor, right? It's called reading the room. Okay, I mean, where somebody is discussing Bollywood movies, you can't suddenly get inside and start discussing feature films that are getting nominated for Oscar, right? You're not reading the room. The audience is not ready to listen to feature films, right? They are not interested in feature films. They want to discuss Bollywood. You have to make your point with respect to Bollywood, right? So that's called reading the room. So you have to customize your profile, your CV, your application, right, or the cover letter that you're sending. You have to customize it basis the firm's objective, basis the role that you're applying for. If it's a project specific role, basis that particular project, you have to customize it, right? Now there are some before afters that I have given as references, right? Most people would be writing what is written here in the left hand side of your screen, and the ideal expectation, right, or the near perfect answer are the ones that are highlighted here towards the right hand side of the screen, right? Now we'll go through each of these examples and you'll better understand what is the difference, right? So the moment you say assisted in organizing the annual cultural fest and managed logistics, it's a sentence that you have written, right? I don't know how many people were attending, right? I don't know what you mean by logistics. Okay? But the moment you say that I led end-to-end logistics for 3,000 attendee, right? And I cut the vendor cost by 18% through negotiation, it gives me an understanding of what you have done, right? It's as simple as that. Usually, I mean, hand on heart, you would write something like this, right? Even when I was a student, my initial tendency was to write something like this, right? And then I did not understand the meaning of writing this, but now that I'm on the other side of the table, I understand the importance of writing something like this. Right. Then again, worked on a project related to supply chain optimization during internship. Right. Now, what do you mean by supply chain optimization? And you also need to understand that probably when you're applying, you are at an early stage of your career, right? The kind of experience that you have is probably 6, 7, 8 months of cumulative internship experience, unless you have done a long-term traineeship of 1 year or 2 years, right? So you cannot claim something so broad, right? Here, for example, I saw this in some CV where somebody claimed that they optimized supply chain during an internship. That is factually and practically impossible to do. An intern cannot optimize a supply chain operation, right? Probably the intern has, shuffled a couple of files, right? It is impossible for you as an intern to optimize supply chain or anything for that matter for an organization. Right? You can simply mention that, here you're giving a realistic example that a 4-tier vendor network you have, you know, established, and you identified XYZ amount of an annual leakage, right? Because of the vendor structuring that was there. And then the recommendation got accepted and it got accepted, right? This is a believable situation. This is not, right? Hmm. Again, the third point, responsible for content strategy and social media management for the college media body. Again, just a statement like the first one. I don't get to understand what content strategy. What do you mean by media management, right? Here, the revised version, rebuild content calendar for 12-member team. Here I'm giving a team size, right? That these are the number of people that I worked with. I This is the LinkedIn page. When I took over, it only had 800 followers. 5 months down the line, because of what I did, we now have 4,200 followers in just 5 months, right? So again, this is giving me some understanding of what you did. And these are not tall claims, right? And you don't need to necessarily make a tall claim to get shortlisted. You give very realistic, simple examples because nobody is expecting an intern to generate revenue for the company or for the firm. And as a fresher also, when you join my team, my expectation is not that you go out in the market and get new business for me, right? I have very simple expectations from you as a fresher or as an entry level consultant. I'm not expecting you to behave like a CEO or a CFO of a firm, right? So have realistic outcomes, right, to which the person sitting on the other side of the table is able to relate to, right? It should not be such tall claim that I'll start feeling like, okay, this is a lie. This is not possible, right? Then again, a similar example, part of the team that won the national B school, some competition that the B school won, right? What exactly you did? What was your role, right, as part of that project team? Again, as I was mentioning, moot court, right? So I see many a times the students, they will write that, I was part of the moot court team and we reached the final of the world, amongst 60 countries, right? So in moot court, we have actually, it's a global competition, right? So there are, participants from 100 plus countries, and reaching the quarterfinal or semi-final or final is a big deal, right? So usually people write that in their CV when somebody reaches semi-final from India. They'll write that I'm a semi-finalist of this moot court competition, right? Now that does not help me in understanding what you did. It could be that the other two people that were there in your team, they did great, you didn't. What was your role? So you quantify that, right? You mention what you did, right? So again, builds the narrative for you, right? Now, next would be positioning a CV like a consultant, right? Again, I mean, the topic of our discussion that we have today. So there's something called SPQ framework, right? And I'll send this presentation to Mahavir and team so that in case you need to refer it at a later time, you can go through it, right? Because I understand that all of it might become a little overwhelming for you, but these are standard and established methodologies, right? So there's this SPQ framework that is there, right? So SPQ is nothing but situation, proof, and question your answer. Okay. So you need to ensure the CV that you're preparing or the CV that you're building is having the SPQ framework present in it in some form or the other. There is no right template. There is no right way of writing everything. There is no one single correct answer. Right? All of us are different individuals, and there will be subjective changes depending on how we perceive certain situations or certain things. Right? But ensure that these three things are present in some form or the other. Okay. Who are you in one sentence? Knowing it is absolutely critical, not only from a CV point of view. This is a question that will be asked in your interview as well. Okay. So there are two things that I would recommend. Who you are in one sentence, that is from a CV point of view, and knowing about your weaknesses. Okay. So this is a question that you don't need to mention in your CV, but you need to be prepared with respect to this particular answer, right? Because this is one question. When I was becoming a director in EY, just to give you some background. So in consulting firms, you don't just get promoted because you performed well, right? You also have to appear for interviews when you become a director, or when you are eligible to become a director, or when you're eligible to become a partner, right? In any big consulting firm, you have to appear for an interview and you have to prepare a case study for yourself. Okay. So when I became a director, I was asked, what is the panel that I had? I was asked, what is your weakness? Right. And believe me, when I say this, when this question was asked, I was not prepared for it. Right. Somehow I thought of certain realistic answers and I gave that answer, right? I was not trying to be perfect. And again, you don't have to be perfect when you're answering to certain questions, right? You have to be yourself. Just be genuine and just say what you mean, right? So I'll not get into what I said. The interviewer, the panel that I had, he mentioned that even if you would have said that you don't know about your weaknesses is your weakness, I would have accepted that answer. Okay. So little bit off topic, but this is another question that you have to have an answer ready for. Okay. Because it might I mean, you might be getting that question in your interview. Okay. So they are not looking for a very sophisticated answer. They're simply looking for an answer which is honest. Okay? And which actually you believe in, right? So SPQ is something that you have to have in your CV. You can align it in this particular order. You can reorder it a little bit, right? But try to follow this particular order: situation, proof, and question. Okay. And again, there are some mistakes that we usually make while following SPQ. I have highlighted those as well towards the right hand side of the screen. Like, for example, simply mentioning your degree, right? I mean, that's, I already know it, right? I mean, if you're applying for a role in my team, I already know that you're a lawyer. So you don't have to tell me that you did LLB or LLM or anything, right? So I mean, a couple of other examples also I've given. When you go through this, just be mindful that you're not making the same mistakes while following SPQ. Okay. Now, to sum it up, right, you have to build a profile that tells one story, right? Your academics, your experience, your extracurricular, in case you're mentioning, and the application, which is basically the cover letter or the interview that will be followed up by the after the cover letter, right? So here you have to ensure that all these four pillars that you have in your CV are aligned with each other. Your academics, your experience cannot have a misalignment with the application itself, right? Or your academics or your experience. I mean, unless you are making some radical decision in your life. I mean, I know somebody from my batch who did law and then became a food critic, right? So unless you're making a drastic or such radical change in your career, ensure that these two are aligned. And if these two are aligned, ensure that if this is also aligned, the fourth point, and if your extracurricular is also aligned, then it's a plus point for you, right? So this is something which is why I did not mention at the beginning. If this is also aligned with your academics and experience, great. I mean, that's the best case scenario that one can have. Okay. Now then again, some of the insights I would say, which I uh, have gathered, right, over the last 11, 12 years of my career, right? As I was telling you, right, the CV screening, first 20 to 30 seconds average, the global average, there's a study that was conducted on this particular topic. So the global average is 20 seconds, right? Any profile gets rejected within first 20 seconds. In my experience, it's it would be close to 30, 35 seconds. You have to have the attention of the recruiter or the screening team, right? And the only way you can get that attention is by removing generic stuff from your CV, right? Your cover letter, in case that is relevant. Now, again, this is a very critical point. Everybody, what I see is when I'm not asking for a cover letter, people are sending me a cover letter. If a cover letter has been asked by the recruiter or if it is sought by the organization, then only send it. It is not a norm that you have to by default send a cover letter and a CV attached to it, right? If somebody has specifically asked for it, then only send. If it is not sought by the recruiter, there's no need to send a cover letter, right? And if you're sending a cover letter, it needs to align with the CV that you have built, right? And again, it's not your autobiography. Nobody wants to know what you did in your childhood. Nobody wants to know how you love to spend your time, right? Just ensure that you have some factual points which are again aligned with the role that you're applying for. Okay, it has to be very technical. I mean, don't get into a storytelling zone when you write your cover letter. Okay. Third is referrals. Now, often I get messages on LinkedIn asking for referrals, right? And they will simply send me the job ID, which they see on LinkedIn or somewhere else. They'll send me the job ID. They'll be like, "Sir, if you can help me with the job ID. This is job ID with a referral, right?" I have no understanding of that individual's background. That particular role is from some other practice, right? Probably they're hiring a software engineer for an AI tool that EY is building. I am getting the CV for a referral, right? So you see the misalignment. So that's what I'm referring to. I mean, you have to do that basic research whether the person you're asking the referral from is at all aware of this position that you're applying for, or I mean, is this person even related to that particular practice or setup? Rather than asking for a direct referral, you can simply say that, is there anybody you know who can help me with this role, right? So again, that tells me that you did some research, you put some effort to figure out that I am not the relevant person for this job opening, right? And with respect to reference as well, it is not a guarantee for of a job or of an interview. A referral might help you in speeding up some of the timelines. It might help you hear back from the HR faster or quicker than another candidate who doesn't have a referral. But it has never meant that you're going to get that job or you're going to get that interview, right? It simply helps you in uh, going up the ladder a little. You don't have to wait in the line for long. So that's the simple meaning of referral. Okay. And the fourth, mistake, somewhere somebody said that this is a very important question you have to ask. So every time I interview, I get this question that how do I stand out? Or in your eyes, how I'm doing better than other candidates, right? So just to demonstrate that you're confident, okay? This is not a question at all that you should ask, right? You simply should put your point saying the firm is looking to solve this problem and my uh, goal or my alignment is 100% streamlined with the firm's vision. That is what you need to establish throughout the interview, throughout the narrative that you're trying to build, right? As I mentioned, whenever you're applying for a job, ensure that you go through the tagline or the objective of the organization. Every premier institute will have a published objective, be it the big four, be it the top manufacturing companies, be it the top automotive companies of the country or of the world. Everybody will have one uh, motto that is most of the time tagged with their logo only, right? So do that research and then mold your answers, which is aligned with that vision or the objective of the company where you're applying for, right? Uh, I just want to, I mean, as I, when I was thinking of this session, I wanted to give you guys some kind of a task, right? It's not that I'm going to be asking for follow-up questions on that, but just so that you can structure it a little better, right? Whatever you have understood, whatever you have learned, or whatever you think that is going to be useful, the next 48 hours, you should do these three things, right? Think of, I mean, give some time to yourself, probably 30, 45 minutes max. Go through your CV, right? Think what are the redundant points, right? Identify them. And I mean, do a self review in short, right? And then look for the SPQ, whether it is fitting in somewhere, right? So that's the first thing that you should do. Second, you should definitely, whatever learnings you are taking from point two, right? You create an action item for yourself. Subject to this activity, you replace your objective or the summary that you have created for yourself, right? And definitely remove any experience that is not fitting to the role that you're thinking of applying to, right? Then do a peer review. I mean, your best friend, your brother, sister, whoever you think would have some good feedback to give you. Reach out to that person, ask that person to, do a peer review, take the feedback, incorporate it. If you think that that feedback is useless, don't incorporate. But if you feel that something is valuable said, do incorporate it, right? Hmm. Look up the last 3 hires at your target firm on LinkedIn. I hope you know how to do this, right? LinkedIn provides this facility. You can actually find the people who got recruited by the firm with a timestamp, right? Last 3 months or 1 month, you get to see that statistics. So do that. So it'll give you a good visibility. And if you want to understand the pattern, it will give you that insight, right? And definitely practice this why this form answer. Okay. So there should be three questions that you should definitely have an answer to. Why this form? Uh, what are your weaknesses? And definitely the one that we just discussed in our previous slide, right? So these are the three questions you definitely need to have an answer to, because this is something that for sure somewhere somebody is going to ask you, right? And ensure that you time the answer. It cannot be a 90-minute answer or 10-minute answer or a monologue, right? It has to be a very short, precise, on point answer. Okay. So I think that's about it from my end. Question answers. I mean, I think, have we overshot the time? Of course we have. So if you guys are still awake and you have some questions, please feel free to raise them.
Thank you so much, sir. That was incredibly insightful. So I'm sure everyone here got a much clearer understanding of what actually works and what doesn't when it comes down to consulting resumes and all that. So feel free to drop your questions or raise your hands. We'll take them one by we'll take them up one by one. So
Yeah,
okay,
let's
we have
start with you.
yeah. So Laulik Kumar, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. My name is Lokit Kumar, and sir,
Hi.
I have my CV opened in my desktop right now. It will be really helpful, like if you can glance through it and just give you a quick insight. That will be helpful for everyone presented here. I have the basics clear in the CV. Just you need to just had to glance.
Okay. You want me to glance it through now, or I mean,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay, okay.
So, can you see my screen?
I can. Can it get a little enlarged? Can you increase the font size a little? Yeah, I think it's good now. It's good. Okay. Are you applying for any particular job, or it's the generic CV that you have?
No, it's a generic CV that I have made.
Okay. Okay. So I think first you have to have, a summary at the top, right? Key highlights, can come later. Work experience, okay. And where, okay, you have given education. Okay. Can you scroll down? Okay. Positions of responsibility. Can you scroll down a little? Yeah, additional certifications. Okay. Okay. So you have things, which you have done, as I was mentioning, right? Whatever you have done, I think you have summarized everything into this one page, right? Uh, this needs to be customized when you're applying, because this is something I'm not sure the kind of roles or the jobs that you're going to be applying for, right? If I'm understanding it correctly, marketing and operations. So you would typically work in a marketing team of an organization, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, sir. Typically, sales and marketing team.
Okay, okay, okay. So what you can do is probably things which are and what is this Grand Curtain event that
So it's a case
you
competition. It's a case competition, which is a
okay,
national level world, like a nationwide case competition across India. In that particular case competition, all the premier base schools participated in this competition. That my
okay.
college has reached to the finals, and I was the team leader in that particular.
Anything it has anything to do with sales and marketing, or can you tweak it to give a flavor of sales and marketing? this case study to give some context? Because this is, for me, if I'm the interviewer, I have no clue what this Grant Thornton Bharat 2025 is, right? So can you tweak it a little and give some more context? If you're able to add some marketing and sales aspect to this, event, great. I mean, that gives me some context, and it helps me in understanding that, okay, you have a flair in this whole thing.
Actually, sir, it in the deck, I have also strategized the GTM strategies of the particular firm. Like
Okay.
what exactly the GTM strategies would be for the next 2 years. So I have made the whole flow of that particular thing.
Okay. See, right now it is too much content, right? For me, if I'm looking at it simply this one page, right, and I don't want to make a premature, comment saying that okay, this is completely nonsense, right? I have not gone through each and every word. I have just gone through the sections of the CV that you have, you're showcasing. What I can tell you is that a lot of content is there, right? It's very content heavy. So I don't know what exactly to focus on, what to read, which parts to ignore, right? So probably what you can do is you can structure it a little better. You start with a, summary where you talk about that you have a passion towards marketing and sales, and to substantiate that, you mentioned that these are the two strategies, GTM strategies I had prepared when I was interning, so on and so forth, right? You can simply mention, and that is how you narrate the story, right? Who you are, and then how you are substantiating that who you are structure, right? The qualification, I mean, nobody is going to read through what you did in class 10 or 12. I mean, that's of no use for me when I'm recruiting a professional, right? So you can simply mention that you did an MBA from such and such university, and mention that what is the topic of that MBA. And I'm sure there must be some projects that you did, right? Mention that, as part of my program or curriculum, I did a couple of, case studies on sales and marketing. That is how you just have that story with respect to your objectives, right? So that flow needs to come. Again, it's a storytelling. It is not a demonstration of multiple facts, right? So accordingly, you can align. Right now, it is appearing to be a little content heavy. Try to reduce some of these points, and if required, you can remove some of it as well. But that narrative or that storytelling needs to come out. That flow has to be there somewhere, right? Again, this your educational qualification. So you have work experience, then education, and then projects and internship, right? So it's breaking the flow, because what I'm understanding is your projects and internships are talking about marketing strategy, social media strategy, outreach strategy. I'm interested in all those things, right? So have that flow. I mean, you can put up some of these points in the initial section of your CV.
Okay, sir, noted.
Yeah. Okay. And again, as I mentioned, there is no right answer or wrong answer in this whole thing, right? And never ask someone else to draft your CV. It has to be your story. That personalization has to come from you, right? People will guide you. There are people who are trying to, who are going to sell you things, right? I'll draft your CV and give me this much amount. Never get into all those things. It's your story, your narrative. You have to build it. You have to have that personalization in the CV that you're trying to build. Okay?
And sir, one more question.
Yeah.
I'm basically looking for more consulting roles in the industry. So, sir, what specific things I should mention in this CV, and how can I leverage my work experience, or whatever I have done in past? So, how can I use that to for a consulting firm?
Uh, I mean, again, by demonstrating the problems that you have solved, right? That's the simple answer that I can give you. You have to demonstrate what was the problem and how you solved it. That's all consulting interviews are going to look for. Okay. You have to talk about the problem statement and how you helped that whole uh, situation. That narration has to come out from your CV.
Okay, sir. Noted. Thank you.
Yeah, Shraddha, please go ahead with your question.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir.
Right.
So actually, in my last year of graduation, and I'm from Tier 2 college, and
Okay.
I want to like confirm one point. You mentioned that we should like put all the relevant internships only that is related to the particular role that we are going to apply for. So
Right.
my question is, I did some internship that is in finance and two basically in finance and one is in HR field. So the
Okay.
story is I had done those internships because of my free time and those are available in my city at that time. So
Okay.
what if I'm applying for a consulting role like for the internship only right now? I never get the selection for that basically. So is it a mistake to mention all those internship there, as you mentioned, like those are not relevant for that particular role that I'm applying for? Or if I'm
Okay.
not like if I'm not mentioning all those internship, then don't you think it's a bit awkward to not like mentioning any internship like information there? Because I'm a fresher and I am not like everyone's saying ki you we need the experience for providing